Mr. Speaker, sir, those people who actually deal with the states, in particular after death, obviously will have had some dealings with Fiji Public Trustee Corporation. I'd just like to make a few comments, just some generic comments in respect of when a person, just to inform Parliament, when a person dies, as Honourable Randondo, Salatu Randondo highlighted, there are a lot of people in Fiji who die without actually making a will. In fact, there are many people in Fiji who are members of FNPF, and they may, as you know, you have a nomination form. A lot of people actually, when they nominate who's going to be the beneficiary in the event of their death, a lot of people actually don't update their nomination form. So we know a lot of people, for example, who may have become a member of FNPF before they got married. So they, for example, nominated their mother or their father or another sibling. But subsequently, when they do get married, a lot of them forget to actually change the nomination form. And so as a result of that, you find a lot of disputes that does arise. As you also know, Mr. Speaker, sir, we had a few years ago also amended the relevant law to include de facto relationships, because there always used to be an issue about de facto relationships. There are many people who, for example, live in relationships, but they are not legally married per se, and therefore you may sometimes find that there are disputes, other family members come into that, or sometimes people have actually been separated, have not been legally divorced. Those types of complications do arise. In the issue what Honourable Salatu Randondo talked about, there are many people who die what we call interstate. In other words, they die without making a will. And of course, there are many people who die by making a will. And of course, it's not only about people who have assets. It's about everybody should make a will, because invariably there will be some form of some asset, whether it's $100 in the bank, or whether it's, you know, a collection of books, or whether it's one bed, or whether it's a house, whatever the case may be. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, Honourable Randondo said, you know, public trustees should draft bills, etc., the wills. But let me highlight to you, as we've highlighted to Parliament, the Legal Aid Commission, that has got a network of legal aid officers throughout Fiji, actually drafts wills now. For any member of the public that go in, obviously not the wealthy, but anybody can walk in, no Fijian can walk in and get their will drafted by the Legal Aid Commission. That's a service they do provide. They also do provide services in respect of settling probate issues for members of the public who may require the services of a legal representation. Now, I accept, Mr. Speaker, sir, that of course Honourable Nawekula talked about the fact that, you know, sometimes there are delays. Yes, but as you, as a lawyer, you would also know that sometimes the delays that occur because of the various legal frameworks that actually exist. So there are certain legal obligations that are placed on the Public Trustee Corporation, certain legal obligations placed on FNPF. The High Court, they have their own High Court rules. So the reality of the matter is not about simply just clicking a finger and all gets done. It is a case of reviewing the relevant laws that pertain to, for example, getting a probate. What are the time frames that's required? As you know that, for example, when there is, when you have probate, you actually have to advertise. And we found that sometimes when people actually do advertise, some family member comes in and stakes a claim. So there is a particular process you do have to go through, and we are actually equally concerned about the fact, Mr. Speaker, sir, that there are certain delays because of the legal framework that's been trained for, you know, decades since before independence. So we are going to look at how we can change the laws. We made some amendments in the respect of, for example, recognizing de facto relationships, but there's quite a lot of work that needs to be done accordingly. Of course, you know, we need to have the more board members, the merrier, the better it is, but so far nobody has shown a causal link between the minimum director numbers that have been on the board or any discrepancy that may have taken place in FPTCL. Nobody's shown that. But I can also tell the members that the number of boards actually have increased. Mr. Speaker, just a couple other points in respect of FPTCL. You know, I cannot understand, you know, the comment about that the response is arrogant. I don't think it's arrogant. It may have been straightforward, but nothing arrogant about that. I think we need to come down from your pedestal just because you sit on a committee. Does not in any way mean that people should kowtow to you. the reality of the matter is that, for example, recommendation 5, it is factually correct to say there's no legislative policy standards required in respect to the information is required under the recommendation 5. But it does comply with the IFRS standards. That's what they're saying. Now, what we are also saying, Mr. Speaker, sir, we've had discussions and we've asked the FPTCL to ensure in the next time that they do actually include the information distribution of interest on investments to be included in the annual reports. So that is the outcome. Recommendation is made. They did send a response. We as a ministry have looked at the recommendation. We asked FPTCL, please include it. Whilst they may be, what they are doing strictly, legally speaking, they are correct. So rather than trying to take a sledgehammer to crack a nut, you can work and say, we look forward to them providing the information. It's very simple. Mr. Speaker, sir, on the other point also, we'd like to highlight that the FPTCL, in respect of some of the services they do provide, of course, like all other organizations, needs to be improved, and we'll be working with them regarding FPTCL. Honorable Nawaikula is absolutely correct. When you have a lot of members of one particular state, it can take ages. You can see one in Flagstaff that's sitting, on the main road next to that famous restaurant there, the dilapidated 3-4-story building. You can go to Berry Road and various other places. These buildings are in a dilapidated state because there may have been about 14, 15 beneficiaries. Some of them have migrated, some of them are here, they cannot reach an agreement as to what to do with the property. So one of the things that we have been thinking about is that if a property, there's no resolution made, there should be what we call a period of time, maybe 12 years, in which the members who are the beneficiaries should make a decision. If they don't, then like in other countries, the state actually intervenes. And the state, what the state does is actually sells the property off, equally distributes all the funds, and gives it to all the members, because they have not been able to reach an amicable decision. There are many estates in Fiji where, because of the family members not being able to reach any particular consensus as to what to deal with the property, has been left in a dilapidated state. It causes problems for the municipal councils. They don't pay the rates. So it causes, an eyesore overall. So, Mr. Speaker, so there's obviously a number of contributing factors, and we absolutely agree, as we have highlighted previously, that we do need to look at these laws. Many of these laws are very archaic, and we hope to deal with it. We need to get a number of examples from overseas as to how we can actually make these laws quite modern. I'd like to thank all the members for the committee for their contribution, and indeed the members from FPTCL. I'd like to support the motion that's on the floor. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I thank the Honourable Attorney General for his contribution to the